Whoa. Oh, my God.
That's a gallery full and a half.
How do we know
yes.
there's anyone dangerous in here for us?
Look at that. What we got here? I wish I had hair like Jade's. You see that, Jade?
That's brilliant. We've got Creasy on a wrecking ball somewhere as well.
Where's Mike gone? He was quite an interesting chap. Was that the leader of the North Korean government? What's his name? Kim Jong-un. I just seen Kim Jong-un.
He's on there. He's on the second.
My name is Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un. Oh my word. Right then. It is Creasy on a wrecking ball. Oh my God, that is brilliant. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see you all again. I absolutely love this format with everyone's faces and stuff. It's really cool. Sorry about my hat. But yeah, it's the third one in a row every Wednesday. Pit stop. I've never done a pit stop. Sorry, the positive pit stop. And it's really, really cool. And I'm glad to be involved. And I don't know if Tony's in your left-hand corner, but it's great to do this with myself and Tony. So really, really pleased. It's a place where we can share positive stuff. It's a place where we can share stories, positive stories, and it's a place where we can all talk a bit about mental health. And the best bit about the show is our star guests. And I think it was fantastic to start with Ash Sutton, who was brilliant and open, but also then have Rick Parfitt Jr., who was just absolutely extraordinary last Wednesday, which was fantastic. Very, very open chat. And this week, it's fantastic to have Jade Edwards along, who's just got one of the best stories ever. Not about me and McLaren work. It'll be about her story and how she's got to where she is. So we're going to quiz out with a load of stuff, and we want you guys to get involved as well. But yeah, it's good for us to do this, and I think it's good for everybody. So please, get involved. And Tony, what are you going to bore everyone with now?
My little bit of script that I've written, and I'm going to rip up the moment you two start talking.
Brace yourself, Tony.
Just briefly to explain the format to a number of new faces that are here this week. Every week we have a special guest, and this week it's Jade from the world of sport and entertainment, and we're asking them about their plans for the year ahead. We look back on some of the highlights of their career, but we also like to talk a bit about some of the aspects of mental health within sport, the visualization, mind training, all sorts of different aspects. And we really want to make this as interactive as possible. And we want to get you, members of the Positive Pit Stop crew, involved in the questions. So you'll see the chat screen at the bottom. Get some questions in. Be prepared. We may well bring you in on camera. The whole session's recorded and it goes up on YouTube. It goes on SoundCloud as well, if you like your podcasts. And yeah, if you haven't got your camera switched on yet tonight, please switch it on, because it's lovely seeing a big screen. And one last thing before I hand back to you, Paul. This could be quite a momentous night, because as far as I know, Jade's mum's watching, your mum's watching, and my mum's watching. So
oh my God, is Joan here?
Is Joan here?
Joan will have the camera switch. Joan's my hero.
She'll have the camera switch off. I hope she doesn't think. Hey, I hope she doesn't think that that was me. Did you see that? There was someone had a picture of me, but looking like Jack Nicholson. Here is Zoe. It was like a picture of me smashing through a fence then. Hey, listen, I'm loving these backgrounds. Check out Chris Hosey with his BTC racing. Has he covered the number up on purpose? Is that Creasy or is it Cookie?
It's not Creasy, because Creasy had the gold, didn't he? So it's either. He's got my logo on there as well. He's thought about this. This is brilliant.
He ain't stupid, Chris.
No.
Mate.
He's on the ball.
I think it might be Josh Cook. I think
that's all right.
Yeah, we don't mind Cookie. If it's Creasy, we're not that interested, to be fair, mate.
Yeah.
So, To, I think you've robbed a bit of my stuff there about the interactive part of it. But I echo what you say, Captain, because, oh, Mike, look, it's Kim Jong-un. That's brilliant. What a picture. Yeah, no, you've echoed what I was going to say, and that's I just love this format and how people can act. Just seeing people's smiley faces is great in it, because you're locked in house all day, most of the day if you're not working, and it's great to see everyone. So you can really feel the interactiveness, especially off mic, who's come as Kim Jong Un. So shall we begin then, Tony?
Yeah, why not? So that leads us nicely into introducing tonight's star guest, who we've mentioned several times. Having competed previously in Ginetta Juniors, British GT Championship and the Clio Cup, Jade Edwards now follows in her father's wheel tracks onto the grid of the British Touring Car Championship. So welcome, Jade, and over to you, Owie.
Oh, thanks, mate. I was just more interested in Dave Zeus Cox's background, which was me and Steve Ryder cuddling on the grass. He's obviously deep faked that, but that was lovely. So listen then, Jade, what's been going on? It's been a whirlwind of amazingness for you, isn't it? But one thing that I find staggering is how many times, well, it's not staggering because you're a popular person, but you've been relentless and non-stop with podcasts and questions, and it's just been nuts, isn't it? So what's been happening anyway, day to day?
I was just saying to Tony before you came on, actually, like, because they've pushed back the season by 5 weeks, we're almost in this kind of no man's land where I've not sat, other than a quick seat fit, I've not sat in the car. We can't really go to the workshop because of obviously lockdown. And as far as being a touring car driver, I've almost gained nothing more than, a new t-shirt at the moment. It seems weird. But yeah, the reason I'm doing as many Q&As, podcasts, is just to kind of keep everyone interacting. We're all locked down. We can't go anywhere. We can't see our friends and family. So if we can all join together, and obviously this is a great format because we can all see everyone's faces. But even if I'm doing a Q&A where, people are just watching and can't get involved as much, at least it gives them something to do for an evening. And I have to say, one thing I've been doing is watching Charlie Fagg on Twitch. Is it Twitch? Playing Forza or something. Anyone that knows Charlie Fagg, he's a young McLaren driver and he is a funny character. And I don't watch it for the driving. I watch it just to watch his reactions to stuff. So for me, I love doing that sort of stuff. So I just think giving back to you guys, doing some Q&As, learning about each other, having a bit of a laugh, it's beneficial to everyone.
Do you know, that's very interesting you said that, because I know Charlie pretty well, like you do. We both work with Charlie, very young, up and coming McLaren back driver. But there's a lot of, the new generation is definitely into sim stuff, and but there isn't that many characters, to be fair. But Charlie is stand out, isn't he? And it's put him in good stead.
I got bored once of watching him drive racing cars. So I said to him, what's that behind you? And he had like a rail of clothes. He ended up doing a fashion show for all of us. Now, bearing in mind, I know him. I think Jack Mitchell was watching. We're all good friends. But there was random people from Germany just watching this Twitch feed of Charlie Fagg in his sheepskin jacket strutting around. And people are tuning into a race series and watching Charlie Fagg jump around in a denim jacket. But yeah, it's things like that. We're all, some of us are at home alone. So if we can all watch things like that and interact like that, it feels like you've got someone next to you to chat to, and that I think is a huge thing, because social interaction, as much as most of us all hate people in general, actually having conversations and just feeling like someone's there makes a big difference. Yeah,
and it is interesting. I've gone a bit off kilter here, but because of your answers, I want to ask you a couple more questions about that kind of personality side of things. Do you think it's massively important then, when it comes to racing, to have a personality, or is it one or the other? Are you kind of a I don't know, somebody who just is run of the mill and gets championships under the belt and just gets on with it, or do you have? Is it one or the other, or can you be both? Like Jason's a prime example, isn't he?
I think Jason is almost a hybrid of both of them. Sorry. Yeah, Plato is a hybrid of both. He can go and win championships and win races like there's no tomorrow, but he's also a huge personality. Whereas you get someone like maybe Colin Turkington, who is one of, if not the best touring car driver we've seen in years, but he's not necessarily known for his personality. And actually, I remember when he won, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, when he didn't think he was going to win. And because it was such a surprise, we got to see all of his emotion because he couldn't hold it in, whereas he's very good normally at composing himself. Now, I haven't won very much, so I've got to be a personality. Yeah, you and I are the same. Woohoo! But for me, I don't want to be like cliche and a bit cheesy, but I'm almost living my dream. Do you know what I mean? So I want to enjoy it, and I want to look back, and I want pictures to be smiley. I want content to be fun. I want people to come on my social media and realize that actually we're having a good time here. And I take it so seriously behind closed doors. You know, I really want to do the best this season, but I also want people to enjoy the journey with me. So I think you need to realize where your niche is. So, you know, we've got a prime example at BTC Racing this year. We've got Josh Cook, who is a personality, but in comparison to me and Creasy, he kind of keeps himself to himself on race weekends. Whereas me and Creasy are messing about and interacting with everyone, and it works both ways. You know, you don't have to be one or the other, but I just think you need to find what's natural to you and go with it, because even people like Kimi Räikkönen, who some would say he's got no personality, that is his personality, and that's what makes him the character. So you have to find your little area and run with it.
Isn't it? I find that fascinating and an amazing answer, because we both know Josh Cook, who is your teammate for this year, and we know him very well. But if you didn't know Josh Cook and you watched him on the telly, I would say he was just a boring ginger mess. I would honestly just be like, I don't like him. He's boring. He's one of the funniest people I think I have ever met. He's the quickest witted. Just he'll have you in stitches, won't he?
Think outside the box humor is what he's got, basically, and it's exactly that. And this is what, you know, is frustrating sometimes to watch him when he wins a race and he wins it by a country mile, or he starts from nowhere and he wins and he gets out the car and he doesn't really celebrate. It's because he knows he could have done, he's such a perfectionist on a race weekend. He knows he could have done this little bit better or that. From us watching from the outside, we're just overjoyed that he's won a race. But in his mind, he knows he's missed something or could have done something better or whatever. But get him away from that race weekend and he is the best fun ever. And I think that's him. You know, he's got those two sides to him, whereas I am much easier at carrying that personality into my race weekend. And in debriefs and in meetings, I'm deadly serious and I take everything very, very professionally. But I can switch into that fun mode a lot easier than maybe Josh can or Colin can, or, you know, someone like that. So, but that's what makes the championship, is everyone's slightly different and brings something different to the table.
I think you're dead right. And I think for me, just to say what it was just like for me, I wouldn't have been able to get the podiums that I got maybe in 2009 and 10 when we were the underdog in an older car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to get those results if I'd have took it seriously, because I did try to take it seriously for the first 4 races and it just didn't happen. And then I just relaxed. I was myself, and being myself is being the idiot and seeing people trying to make them laugh and having a giggle. And that's when it all come easily then, because like you say, it just works differently, doesn't it, for different people?
It's funny you actually say that, because I was talking to someone the other day who I used to work with when I started the F1 sort of hosting work. He was one of my colleagues there, and he's gone on to different things, and he's now a motorsport fitness and nutritionalist, and he's focusing on motorsport and racing drivers. So I was talking to him and I said, he was asking me how I approach races. And that's a different factor as well, is I'm much like you, is I'm very jovial right up until I get into the car. I'm happy to sign pictures, programs, have selfies until I get into the car. I've tried that whole serious approach with, you know, music in your ears and, you know, sunglasses on and being very serious and not talking to anyone. And it actually it triggers me to overdrive, because I'm overthinking everything. Whereas if I'm sort of jolly and chatting away and it's all very light-hearted, when I get in the car, I can focus my mind for that half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is. And then I go back and be Jade again. But if I take it too seriously, I take it too seriously on track, and then I overdrive and overthink, and then it triggers a sort of negative response. So yeah, people could look at me outside the car and think she's not taking this seriously at all. But actually it's the way I perform is how my personality comes across, basically.
Very, very interesting. And Jade, just on that note, do you remember Lando Norris from F1 having to defend himself from having a giggle?
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's obviously found the balance of, you know, being professional and super fast, and in the car, his radio chat is, "Don't speak to me, mate. Got to get this done." But then he likes the other side of it, and I think it's weird how different everyone on these screens now will react differently if they were given a task and how they approach it with humility or whatever. It's just, I find it fascinating.
I think as long as you're hitting your targets and you're doing what, say, your team boss requires, what your sponsors require, you know, you're succeeding in that way. It doesn't necessarily matter how you approach the situation. You know, for me, on my social media, I never really swear other than the odd cheeky little word here and there. I don't show that I'm drinking or anything like that. That doesn't mean that I necessarily don't go on nights out and I don't swear, but it's presenting myself in a manner. But I also want to present myself in a light-hearted manner, and I will have a joke and a laugh. And that's where the groups like Jeff Army come into it, because I know I can go on there and banter with people and they'll get it 100% of the time. They will get it. But will I take that humor to everywhere? Not necessarily. And I think Lando got confused with the public got confused with Lando, that him being funny and taking things as a joke wasn't actually him taking it as a joke. That's just his personality coming across. But we've known Lando, whether it's from a distance or personally, for years now. So we knew that was him. He's come bounding into F1 as a youngster, and people probably just didn't quite understand him, but now they're getting him, and him with Danny Rick is going to be an unbelievable year.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, isn't it? If there is some F1 fans out there, I know a lot of people are either Btcc or F1. Yeah. There's not many that are both, to be fair, because it's such a different demographic. Back to British touring cars, though, Jade, and obviously you come on the scene last year, the pandemic. Weirdly.
I love the pandemic. Done wonders for my racing career.
You're like one of the best byproducts of the pandemic.
I know. Someone put a comment on my status. So I put a status up today. It was my my first ever poster, I think, for the 9 for 9 Clio Cup Championship. That was in 2017. And I said, we've come a long way from 2017 and Clio Cup to touring cars in just 4 seasons. And I think it was Martin Bishop put a comment saying, sitting last year out, essentially, you know, was a negative back then. And I remember literally getting emotional in my car when I was told that I wasn't going to race that year. And actually, it's all been worthwhile, because by sitting out for that year, it's created this year almost, you know. So it's crazy how it all worked. But the pandemic has been negative for me in some ways, but very positive for me in other ways. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I find it bizarre, because just a quick note on that, actually, taking positives from negatives with with my health that you know about a lot, Jade, because I've got diabetes, haven't I, Jade?
You've never mentioned it. Have you got your bracelet on? Show us your bracelet.
I go running with the tags around my neck.
Yeah, in case you drop dead and someone has to read your label.
Ring me mum. I found my son, he's got a funny hat on. Jones watching, actually, be careful. But you know, like when I got my illness in 2003 and I was told I wouldn't be able to race, it was very difficult for me. But at the same time, the interesting part was when I got back to touring cars, I took it actually more seriously because I'd been away from a long time. I knew it could be taken away because I didn't think it could be back then. But also I was so fit. I was so much fitter because of that health issue I had. I'd just gone at it hard, and and like you say, that's the one thing I will say to anybody, and I'm sure you're the same. I've had how many conversations have we had after you've had some kind of an absolute nightmare in racing, or we speak on the phone about life or whatever, and you just can't give up, because those things just become a distant memory, don't they? I seen your 9 for 9 come up today, and I seen your quote, and I was like, Jesus, it's just changed.
And I never thought then, you know, my aim then was just to do Clio Cup, and I never ever thought I'd get to where I am now. And obviously there's people that have played a part in that. You know, this year Steve Dudman, for one, is just the person that's kind of all made this really happen. But I've had to work hard to even get myself in that position where then people can help me. And like you say, it's been hard along the way, and I don't normally portray it too much online. I've had the odd issue. I've had the sponsor scam and everything like that, which I make public, but I don't make necessarily all the, you know, the sleepless nights or the, you know, the worry or, you know, the stresses or the overthinking. I don't make that public, but it happens. But you can't dwell on it. And you have to remember, like you turned a huge negative, which some people could dwell on, and it sort of structure their life. You turned it into a positive and right, I'm going to get fit. They've told me I can't race unless I'm at this level of doing whatever of my health. I'm going to get there and I'm going to go back, and you succeeded and you did some huge achievements. And I think someone that blows us all out the water is Billy Munger. I mean, imagine the mental strength that kid's got to go through what he's done. And he didn't sit on his sofa and think, woe is me. He thought, right, how can I now make my life positive with my new, my new life that I've been given? And it's that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I have days where I sit on the sofa and I don't move all day under a blanket. But after that day, after you've recharged, you go again and you hit it harder and you succeed.
And I think that's what it is, isn't it? It's going again. And just in general life, for me, my mate was on the phone to me, Merrick, who's a very, very good friend. And he was like, he says, how are you dealing with the pandemic? I can imagine you're one of those ones who just sits on the couch and doesn't do anything and just spirals into pizzas. And I was like, actually, no, mate, I've been doing quite a lot of cycling. And you know what? And I've said this before, if I didn't have the bike, I don't think I'd be in a great place.
Because a bit like you, I've got that sitting on the sofa, do nothing in me. I have that in me. I could quite easily do it. And it's when you do it for one day, it's easy to do it for two. When you do it for two, it's easy to do it for seven. And then it spirals. But if you just pick yourself up, and I have to say, I know I rant on about the dog all the time, but the dog is the best thing because it makes, she has to go for a walk. So yeah, but you have to take her for a walk, don't you? So an hour a day, I'm outside in the fresh air doing some walking, and it's just that whole mentality of just like, have your down day, accept that, and then crack on. And I honestly believe that part of the reason I'm in British touring cars is not because of my CV, it's because I refuse to give up. How many drivers have we seen? We go into a championship, all newbies, and in 5 years' time, there's only 2 or 3 of you left that are fighting for this motorsport career. And I am that person. I just will not give up. And every time I get knocked down, I go, right, what's next? And it's that stubbornness, I think, that's kind of got me here. And just the willingness to I want to do touring cars. That's what I'm going to do. If it's only a year, happy as Larry, but, I hope it's more, but you just got to be stubborn and crack on and pick yourself up and think, right, what's next?
Yeah, for sure. I'm fully with you on that. And Jade, just to ask you about touring cars as well. You had that race with PMR. You come back as the first female to race a touring car in 16 years. Yeah. I'm hoping one day we don't have to keep referring to that, if I'm being honest with you. And that we've got, more women on the grid, like we speak about quite a lot. But I've always said, you and Abby Eaton, your friend in particular, are trailblazers for me. I know W Series is quite an interesting concept, but still, if it gets women involved in motorsport, it's fantastic. But that race with PMR, did you get to the end of the year after doing it and see everybody else drive the car and think, well, I enjoyed it, Silverstone was great? Did you think you would get something with BTC? And how did it come about? You mentioned Steve Dudman, and if people don't know Steve Dudman, he owns BTC Racing and Dudman Group. He's quite a wealthy businessman, isn't he?
Yeah, and if I'm honest, no, I didn't think I'd be on the grid. I was trying, but we all know the amounts of money that it takes to get on the grid. And I didn't have a sponsor that was that kind of big money sponsor to get it kick-started. It was all 5, 10, 15 grand, which, don't get me wrong, is still large lumps of money and is life-changing to the right person. But for British touring cars, it's not enough to ring a team up and go, I've got money to do a deal with. And I was in that kind of, chicken and egg situation where I didn't have enough money to approach a team, but I couldn't approach sponsors without a team or a plan. So it was like, I didn't know really what to do next. And then the lockdown happened and I found myself with no work because all our end of season work got cancelled. And luckily, Tom Onslow Cole, who is a touring car driver and GT driver, he owned randomly a Christmas tree company. And he called me up and he said, do you need work? Because I need warehouse staff. And there was a couple of motorsport people that were working in his warehouse because we just needed some money. And it was actually then that I got the phone call from Steve. Now, I was always in contact with Steve. As you all guys saw, I was always in their garage supporting Josh. And through supporting Josh, I got to know everyone else there. And he rang me up and he said, Jade, I've got this sponsor. They're predominantly after, a female driver or something that's, someone that's marketable. You're top of our list. And without being at all disrespectful to Steve, how many times have we heard that? How many times have we had that carrot dangled and gone, I've got a drive for you. Oh, I've got this for you. And you go, yeah. And as a kid, you're like, this is the best thing ever. I've made it. Mum, I'll sign your hat. What do you want me to do? I'm famous. And then it never happens. So when Steve rang me and said this to me, I was obviously over the moon. And I said to him, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I can't believe you're considering me. But in all honesty, when I put the phone down, I just went back to the Christmas trees and carried on because I didn't believe that it was going to happen. And 2 weeks later, I was signing a contract, which was just unbelievable. And don't get me wrong, I'm still bringing sponsorship money. But without Steve and this contact that he's got and that sponsor that hopefully is going to be coming on board this season, I wouldn't be sat here now. So yeah, honestly, I didn't think I'd be on the grid this year, but it wasn't through lack of trying. It was just through lack of funding that, is hard for anyone to find.
That's amazing. Unbelievable. I didn't know much of that, to be honest, Jade, because a lot of people were asking, how's Jade? Because if people don't know Jade Edwards on here, Jade is a normal person, normal family. Well, she's not normal, but...
Not normal, but I don't have any money.
No, you're not Tom Chilton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It's like asking Joan and Den, my mum and dad, to go and to pay for my race, and it's just never. There's no money there.
So the other driver on the grid that I could think that's similar to us is the likes of Jake Hill. If the deal goes wrong and we lose a sponsor, we cannot physically turn to our parents or any member of our family and go, can you top this up? We don't have the money. So if we don't get the sponsorship and that financial clarity and security, we don't go racing because we can't risk it.
Yeah.
So picking up on that point, can I ask both of you, given yesterday's news, Dan Camish hasn't got a drive this year, and 2 seasons ago he was half a lap away from being a British touring car champion. Bobby Thompson, had he not had the accident at Croft, he'd have probably been Jack Sears trophy winner, and would probably be on the grid again this year, but he's not. How are they likely to feel about that, and how do drivers cope with suddenly finding they haven't got a season that they were probably expecting to start in just a few weeks' time? I'll put that to you, Paul, first.
Well, for me, I think it was kind of I was more concerned about my health when I had to stop, but I got a phone call from Ian Harrison at 888, who I was driving for the 2 years previous, and he said, and he was dead courteous. He just said, listen, we've signed Luke Hines, and I just wanted you to hear it off us and not anybody else. I already knew, because journalists who tell you what's going on. So he took my seat, which I wouldn't have been able to have got anyway. But I remember coming off the phone, and it still hurt more than finding out you've got a life-changing illness to a point that you can't do anything about, and it's going to stop you doing what you love. But I think I have never had that situation where it's come to an abrupt halt. I think I've always had it in my head, and I've knew that it's stopping. So I have kind of a defense mechanism where I kind of like, I know something's coming. It's like the way to look at it for me was 2011. That was my final full season in British touring cars in a Chevrolet Cruze with Go Mobile. And to be fair to the guy, he paid for the whole season. But every Wednesday before the racing, and Jade will relate to this, every Wednesday before the race weekend, we were chasing him for money. And I'll be dead honest with everybody on here. It was £200,000 to race that year. And it was 10 weekends, and it was £20,000 plus that. Went to Tech Speed, who were running the cars, every Wednesday before the weekend. We got to Silverstone, which was the very final round. And we got to Thursday, no money. Friday, no money. And then the Friday, I think the Friday night, late doors, the money come in. And I made my decision that I was not racing touring cars. for like a full season. My heart was broken because you just can't race like that. A lot of people do. Jade has raced like that. I know she's raced like that. We've had the conversation in Clio Cup of racing for the weekend up until the Thursday, not knowing if you've got tyres, having the wrong gear in a gearbox, all that kind of stuff. So I've been there, but my defense mechanism was, do you know what? I can see this coming. So I wound myself down and then I just kind of stopped. So I wasn't too bad with it, but there's other people out there, Mike Bushell, maybe. I'll just tell you quickly about somebody. He was the third driver at Team Dynamics a while back. And I still speak to this guy. Me and Jade know him quite well because he's worked for a company that we've worked for, but he had a horrendous time and not a lot of people know about it. And I won't actually say who it is, and I'll probably give the game away a bit, but he had a really bad time. And I think it still sticks with him, how he couldn't get the money to do it. And I knew about all this and I just never wanted it to be me, if I'm honest, because I'm quite, I'm not the strongest mental person. Mentally, I'm not the strongest. So I kind of, I've got different ways of dealing, with it. And Jade is a prime example because, to get where she's got, let's make no bones about this, to get where she's got is amazing. And this is not a sexist thing, but as a female in British touring, to get where she's got is amazing. And like you say, don't worry about where she's going to finish or what she's going to do. She's going to go well, but at the same time, she'll have it in her head, I'm sure, what the score is going to be. And like she just touched on before, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a smile on my face whenever they take pictures of me. And that's exactly how I used to go about my racing. And it's the best way because you never know what's around the corner tomorrow. And that's the thing for me.
That's really wise words. And Jada, I won't come back to you yet because I think we can flip on to some of the really positive stuff. Because I saw you 9 for 9 on Facebook, which came up 2 days after I'd written a scripted question all about it. I just thought, well, that's that one out of the water then. Let's get a little bit interactive. I've been monitoring the questions. And
Mary, stick that light back on. Can't see your face.
There's a question coming in, but I'm more interested in what looks like a gigantic Jake Hill behind the person who's going to ask the question, who's mysteriously called User 12. I want to know more about the picture, I think, than the question. Right, over to you.
Jade, what are you most excited about for the upcoming season?
Racing a touring car around Thruxton, but not round 1 because I don't have enough testing. So Thruxton's my favourite circuit and I can't wait to race there. But obviously it's been moved to round 1, which is going to be fairly intense because we all know what the nature of that track is. But yeah, I think just the whole thing, just being in the hustle, like last year, I obviously raced that PMR car. And although I was obviously nearer the back, you still have door-to-door racing. And I just think that's what I'm going to thrive on, is that I've watched this since I was a kid. And now I'm going to look around and I'm going to be in it. And I'm just basically ticking a box of a goal that I've dreamed of since I was a kid. So there's lots of factors that I'm going to enjoy. I want the fans to come back because I think that they add such an element to the day and to the weekend, with that interaction. Sometimes, that Jeff Army lot hassle you too much and it gets annoying. You have to shoo them away with a big stick. But generally, there's so many different factors. It's the driving, it's the characters in the paddock, it's the fans around, that sort of stuff. Paul O'Neill's going to come up with a microphone a couple of times, hopefully this season, so we can have a laugh. But yeah, just the whole thing as a package, I think I'm looking forward to.
Oh, thank you. Do you want to know more about Jake in the background?
Well, I mean, I didn't expect Jake to be in on our Q&A, but yeah, tell us why you've got him stood there.
So the hard compound, I entered their competition and randomly I got chosen to be selected. So we came home and we have where he used to be, there was no more room for him. So he had to be moved to my room. And I get up in the morning and he's literally staring at me. Honestly, it's a scary
thing. Wake up in the middle of the night? does he not? Does he? It freaked me out. I wouldn't want Jake Hill staring at me in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, he does. I'm just kind of used to it now.
I'm surprised he can see over your bed. He's
Yeah. Is it life size or is it like
No.
blowing up?
You know
No,
what's
it's
really,
life size.
do you know what's really funny about that cardboard cutout? The actual head I can make out is Jake Hill, but the body looks like his dad's son.
Like this, isn't it? Love it.
He's signed at the bottom as well. Hang on. You can't actually see it that well.
Love it. Look at him.
That's lovely.
That is a bit. I could have some fun with that.
Love it.
Right.
And we do, honestly, we've scared so many people when they're at our house.
I bet.
Fantastic. Thanks for your question. That was awesome.
Thank you for answering, Jade.
No problem.
Right, let's have another one, actually. Let's go to Harry Adams.
Oh, has her?
Oh, crikey, I didn't expect that. Yeah, I was just wondering, are you still getting any like fangirl moments, like you are actually racing a touring car against like legends like Matt Neal and so?
Depends who you define as a legend.
Oh, we.
But yeah, what's funny is that the likes of Plato and I think Matt Neal, because Owie, you did your first season in touring cars the same year my dad, I think, did in production, wasn't it? 2001 or something. And those guys were still racing then. So I'm actually now going to race people that my dad raced back in the day, which, you know, I find quite weird because I was 10 years old at the time. So I would look up and it'd be Jason or it'd be Matt Neal or it'd be whoever at the time. So yeah, there's going to be little moments like that. I'd say I don't really fangirl anymore. I've been in that paddock, like I say, since I was 10 and I'm a couple years older than that now. So it's been a while. So no, not really fangirling, more just like, you know, it's just a nice feeling that I've kind of reached what I aimed for when I was youngster.
Thank you.
No problem.
Nice one. Right, I've got a couple of questions before I hand back to Mr. O'Neill. I mean, Paul did mention it, touched on it, the fact that you are, you know, the first female driver for over a decade to come to the grid. Do you feel any additional pressure to perform, or do you see that actually as a massive benefit and an advantage to yourself?
Not because I'm a female, no. Being a female, I've always said, is my unique selling point, but not my excuse. So I can use being a female to go and find sponsorship because being a female opens up different doors. Doesn't make it any easier, but it just opens up different avenues to maybe go and contact people. So that's my unique selling point, but it's not my excuse. So once I'm on track, I'm the same as everyone else. But what I will say is by being in the paddock for so long and creating a personality even without being in touring cars and being sort of known, a little bit of a following in Clios, and even before that when I was working in the paddock, it means that in my rookie season I've probably got more of a light on me than maybe some. So when the likes of Jack Goff came in, Ingram, Bobby Thompson, all these guys, they kind of came in at a lower level team, maybe was nearer the back of the grid, still driving really well, but they were just that end of the grid, maybe mid to the back. And it meant that the limelight wasn't on them. No one was judging them. It was just a rookie year. Whereas because I've created my own monster in the fact that I need that publicity to gain the sponsors, it means that I'm being watched from the word go. And by being watched, you're being judged. And that's probably where the issue lies, is that behind the scenes, Tony, you'll know, Owie, you'll know, anyone in racing knows there's always a background story. So on paper, you finish 20th, but actually those around you know that 20th is very good for what you've been presented with at the time. So that's a positive. But people sat at home watching on the TV or watching on their laptops just go, oh, she's only finished 20th, she's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of perception. So I'm going to get a bit of that, 100%. But without that publicity and without that limelight, I wouldn't have got the sponsors to be here. So it's a bit of a, you can't win. It's you need one without the other, almost.
Yeah, totally get that. And you're in this position now where you've got a full season's drive ahead of you. You can almost relax a little bit in that. Yeah, you're still wanting to get sponsors on board, but you know you've got the drive sorted.
Yeah.
You've done all that busy stuff. So how do you now get and what do you do to get into the mindset for preparing for a season, and how do you keep sharp? Especially lockdown's been really hard for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first time ever in my life, I have got a PT, local lady near me, Leisha Mulvey. She's on social media as well. Luckily for us, because touring cars is essentially under an elite banner, we can train a bit more than just your average person out on the street. So I am able to train a bit more. So I'm probably stronger, fitter than I've ever been in years and years. So that's how I'm trying to keep focused. And yeah, I don't do a lot of sim work. I don't have a sim at home, so I can't really do any of that, but it's more just learning with the team and keeping in contact with everyone and doing what I can. But yeah, you say, you know, I've got the season sorted, but I don't have every penny of sponsorship sorted yet. So I am still working hard on that. We've agreed a contract, and that contract will run to the end of the season, but I have to bring my own contribution to it. So I still need to figure out that to the full 100% that I need. So there's work going on behind the scenes without doubt. But overall, like you say, I'm contracted in for a season. So that has never happened with me before. I think in 2018, I signed up officially for Clio Cup 48 hours before FP1 at Brands Hatch of the first round of the season. So for me to sign up in January is unheard of. So I'm over the moon with that, but there's still plenty of work to be done.
So on that score, over to Paul. It's that time for that quick fire quiz of Get to Know Jade.
Oh, I was a bit too comfortable then. Oh, you're going to love this. This is wicked. Right. This is, so Marty Reardon has been sorting out these little quizzes. So we got a nice little one for you. And just so you know, guys, I'm quite conscious of the time. One, because Jade has quite nicely given us her time, but also the Jeff Army have got Rick Parfitt on at 8 o'clock.
Nah, don't worry about that. We'll stay and do overtime and give him watch it.
Yes.
Yeah, true. You'll laugh at him anyway. And he's boring. I'm joking. He's a good lad. Right. It's Get to Know Jade. Jade, you look well. You look like when you press the wrong button for the on the throttle.
I'm worried I'm going to say something I shouldn't in this sort of category.
I cannot wait. Are you ready? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite food?
Everything.
Favorite drink?
Milkshake, chocolate milkshake.
Oh my God. Favorite Btcc driver, past or present?
Jim Edwards Jr.
Ooh. Favorite ITV Motorsport pundit?
Steve Ryder.
Horrible. Unbelievable. Blair or Oasis?
Oasis.
Ooh, yes. Spice Girls or Little Mix?
Oh my God, that's a tough one. I wanted to be in Spice Girls when I was younger, and I wanted to have proper tracksuit bottoms. So I'm going to go with Spice Girls because I want to be Mel C, and the only reason I'm friends with you is because I want to be with Mel C.
Two things on that. Do you remember when I found them Popper tracksuits, and I was gonna sell you?
Yeah. I know. I still want some. I tell you what, if I find someone that in a shop somewhere, I'm going to wear them to touring car rounds, 100%.
Speak to Joan, she'll sort it.
I'll tell you a quick story about that. I used to have Popper tracksuit, and they were Adidas. And my sister used to find it funny that when we went into shops, she would undo all the poppers. So I'd just be stood there with just like my thighs out and my legs out. But, you know, I'd probably still do that now, to be honest.
I forgot about them things because they popped all the way up to
all the way up. So I'd be in the butcher's with mum, and mum would be like, can I have half a pound of beef? And there'd be me with my chicken legs out.
And the butcher had half. No. Anyway, sorry about that. Beach or city break, Jade?
Oh, beach, 100%. The hotter, the better.
Ooh, cookie or creasy?
Oh God, a cookie.
Oh, creasy.
Lifelong friend, really. So I have to go with him.
This is getting recorded. He's going to be
also Creasy slags me off on all the Q&A, so he's not getting the point there. It's definitely Josh.
Right. On that note, the two of them. Have you spoken to them much?
Nah, I don't like them. Right. Everyone thinks we're all friends, but we're not. We hate each other.
I mean, you can't spend time with a lot of people.
No, we speak every day, every single day. We've got WhatsApp groups. We have Creasy loves a don't take this the wrong way, loves a 3-way WhatsApp call. And we'll just get them randomly. And like Josh is at work, I'm sat on I'm having a dog walk and we're just chatting away. So Yeah, we're genuine friends and we talk every day of some degree. Let's get it known that it's not often about motorsport. It's normally about something else, but we do chat every day.
I'm in one of those WhatsApp groups with you.
Yeah. Don't speak about it.
Oh my God, I hope it's encrypted. What about then, Jade? Seriously, Thruxton's coming up. I might know the answer to this, but you might have touched on it. How much time are you going to have in the car? Because why is Thruxton the worst place ever to start a British touring car season if you're not that experienced in touring cars?
Because it's such a fast circuit, so you're on a knife edge the whole time. I think if you went anywhere else, you could trundle around near the back and you'd get through the weekend safely. But no one on that grid is driving Thruxton safely. Everyone is on the edge. So obviously there's drivers out there that I know. I think Chilton boasted about it on his social media that he's doing about 1,200 test days. I know. Yeah, so Norman's loving life because he's like this in his office going, brilliant. How many test days do you want, Tom? All of them. Brilliant. Sign him up. I've got, as it stands, I've got 3, and one of those is media day. So I don't have a huge amount of time in the car. So no one panic. Everyone stay calm. The plan now is to be a slow burner. We're going to go to Thruxton round 1 and we're going to get 3 race finishes under our belt. And then we're just going to go from there. I love Thruxton. So my aim is to showcase what I can do at the second trip to Thruxton. No one worry about the first one. We're just going to bring it home and make my mum happy. Okay.
On that note then, car rolls into Parc Ferme for the very final time, final race of the year. It's always cold, it's always wet, it's always horrible, it's all very autonomous. What are you gonna do looking back at that season? Are you gonna be happy with a podium that you got, a Jack Sears win that you got, a Jack Sears trophy? What will you walk away and go, yes?
So I have to be realistic, and the likelihood of me to get an overall podium, I think, is fairly off the cards unless we have some sort of weird weather change, tyre situation, that sort of thing. So for me, overall podiums are not something on my radar. That's not to say I'm not going to be trying my hardest to get as close to that as possible. I think, you know, the best position for a rookie in a single race last year was 7th. So obviously I would love maybe somewhere near the top 10, things like that. But for me, the main thing is Jack Sears. Creasy won it last year. Josh has won it previously. It's almost the rookie championship as such. And that's on my radar. I've got one of the best cars on the grid. I've got 2 of the best teammates and, you know, one of the best teams. So there's no excuses on that front. But I have to be realistic with the lack of testing that I'm going to have, the 3 days. And that isn't due to Steve's choice, to the team's choice. It's because we're switching engines, and that doesn't just happen overnight. You have to change quite a bit of the car. So we're sort of forced to do a little bit less. It means that the start of my season is going to be harder than maybe some, because I'm not going to be hitting the ground running. But Jack Sears is my aim. If I get to the last round and I haven't won Jack Sears, but I've had multiple Jack Sears podiums, I've been in the points finishes and maybe scored a couple of top 10s, I will walk away happy. But the overall goal is to win Jack Sears trophy, stand on that podium with the big trophy, because Creasy still carries it around with him. Honestly, sends us pictures. He's in his van. He's a plumber. He sends us pictures and it's in his passenger seat with a seatbelt around it. Right. So even if I win it, I still think I'm going to have to fight him for it. So that'll be quite interesting. So everyone after Brands Hatch, if I win the championship, down the Thistle, we'll have a fight for the trophy and then we'll all have a beer together.
That is just like when Sutton wrestled it off Cookie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Toe, I think you've got us a little...
That leads us into the really crap quiz section, which... Week 1, me and Ash didn't get a point between us. Week 2, Owie and Rockstar Jeff, Chris Hosey won it. So,
He did, yeah.
Right, 4 questions, really quick. First one, how many races has Josh Cook competed in Btcc? Just shout it out.
120.
Higher.
140.
Higher.
180.
Lower.
172.
Lower.
168.
I'm going to say we've not got this.
No points. 166. Second question.
166. That's his number as well. If you've got that.
Second question. Who won the Jack Sears Trophy last season?
No, the bloke we've just
Tracy.
spoken about. If you don't know that, then you don't live on this planet, for Christ's sake. You don't know about it.
What should you put on toasted crumpets?
Everything. Whatever you can find in the cupboard, put it on there.
I'm going to go with jam.
Nutella.
You're on -1 now, Jade. Sorry. Right, final question. Butter is the answer. Last question.
That's just the first layer. Then you've got to put a secondary topping on.
Finally, how many points did Jim Edwards Jr. get in 2000 when he won the Clio Cup Championship?
242. 300.
306.
Oh, lower.
292.
Oh,
293.
yes.
I better tell your dad that I won that game.
Okay. Jim's probably watching somehow.
I think
Mackey's.
I think you actually won that, Paul. Well done.
I know. And do you know what? I see them because they're on the script, but I don't.
Oh, I see.
No.
It's a cheater. I'm the winner.
Jade, I had all the answers on the first week and I still got them wrong. Right. I think this is now traditionally the point where we ask Rob Marsh to ask a question.
Oh God, is he in this?
Yeah.
I think he's at his nan's house.
He's got his Jade hat on. If he's not got his Jade hat on, I'm not interested.
Abby Eaton.
I bet he's got his Abby. I knew. Get him off. Someone kick him out.
I haven't got it. Squishy's got it.
Well, I don't. You've worn the worst hat possible. Get it off.
I've had it on for half an hour. You've not even noticed.
Yeah, because you're not on screen.
Like I'm not even here.
I've got screen 1 and screen 2. You're not on. There you go. You're on it now.
I'm not on it.
Anyway, do you have a question?
Yeah, Rob, we got a question.
Do I have a question? I don't know. I'm feeling pushed into this. I don't think I do have a question, actually. I'm just feeling a bit awkward on here because I can't do the swears like you said before. Well, I can do the swears, but I don't
Can
really.
do the swears. Well, I've never seen you look so speechless. Normally, it's the first thing I was. And Jeff Army, Rob Marsh.
Oh, but I'm looking at the clock. So I'm waiting for 8 o'clock when new guy comes in, and you're just like cast aside. Who's Jade?
Right, you're muted. Let's go to Chris Pearson instead.
Rude.
Well, that was that was unexpected, but I asked a question on the BTC chat that you had the other week, and it's a very, very serious question. What's your favourite biscuit?
I mean, I like all biscuits.
You've got to choose. You've got to choose one.
Right. This is hard because I feel like there's always an elite biscuit and then there's like your go-to everyday biscuit. Now, my go-to everyday biscuit is a chocolate bourbon. Because you just can't go wrong with it. But like if you're going to go elite, you'd go like chocolate hobnob. But since I've been doing this healthier eating malarkey, one chocolate hobnob is almost 100 calories. I could eat a whole pack in one sitting and that's like a day's intake. So I'm fuming.
Is it?
Yeah, 98 calories for one biscuit. And honestly, on McLaren days, how many biscuits do we normally eat? A pack each.
I'm not supposed to eat any, but I end up having.
Oh, why is that?
I've got type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody knew.
But yeah, I'd say bourbon every day and elite is chocolate hobnob.
Yeah, chocolate hobnobs are used as currency in most places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, did you hear that then? I think Rob Marsh said he's got a question for me.
I think I've got a question for you.
Go on.
I've just muted him again. Sorry. Dave Cox, over to you.
Okay, Dave. You promised.
So discrimination.
Oh my God, it's mayhem.
You promised you got Jeff's and Jeff's to do a dance if you got a BTC
Oh, you
drive.
keep asking this question. I don't know what dance you need to do. I don't know. Oh, he's the music man. Get him to pick you a song and then you dance to it.
What
And
have I
is
got to do?
Chrissy the guy from MasterChef?
You are, yeah. We can't see it because your head's in. Oh, there you go.
It's got to be someone from a song from those wonderful artists that are behind you, Dave, isn't it?
Oh my God. When people call me Jade Edwards,
Holy heed, that's amazing.
the best one I've ever seen is, I don't know if you guys who know who Nikki Team is, but someone put Nikki Team with who was it? It was someone anyway, and it came out as a baby that was, it was me and Nikki Team. It came out as Josh Cook was our baby or something. The other way round, me and Josh Cook, and we had a baby and it was Nikki Team. He's obviously got like massive hair. If you don't know who he is, just go and Google him and it'll make sense. But
Right, we've got 3 more minutes before the Jeff Army will be on elsewhere, and this is starting to get Jeff Army like. You can just tell some of them are in here already. Bring it back to some sensible stuff. I don't know if you've been clocking some of the messages, Jade, but people saying your positivity is infectious. Jade's so inspirational and great for the sport.
that's good.
When you see stuff like that, do you realise what an impact you're actually having on people by being a role model?
To a point, yeah, and that's why I try and keep things real online. So I still do point out if I've had like a bad weekend or something's a bit rubbish, but I also speak my mind. So sometimes I'll put things that are a bit more controversial because I think people need to be spoken for. If I've got the confidence to do that, I will do it. So a few years ago, I stuck up for Nick Hamilton when he was getting grief and things like that. But yeah, I just think there's so much doom and gloom going on in the world that we don't need to bring that necessarily to Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can keep it real 100%, but I think that needs to be a platform for our happy stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was an inspiration as such, but I like to think that when people come online and see my stuff, that it can put a smile on their face.
At this point, we normally open up the mics.
Oh God.
Shall we risk it, Paul?
Yeah, go on then.
Go on. If you got a question, shout it out. Go on, Rob. Go on, you have a chance. Mary.
Hey, actually, no, what I wanted to say about Jade, it's something positive about Jade for a change. I know. Don't fall off your chair.
I'm a bit nervous.
Why don't be nervous. It's fine.
I'm not used to this niceness.
Right, well, I won't bother then.
Go on.
Over the last year or so, I've become a massive fan of Jade. Because spending as much time on social media as I do, which probably isn't healthy, but I don't care. Can't tell me what to do. My life. I've seen how much she works to get where she is, and I know she's already said it. But whenever people were like putting out polls and stuff and saying who's interacted best over social media, it's Jade for me, comfortably. Regardless of the series, it's Jade. And it's obvious that she's acknowledged the fact that she has to be this interactive in order to get, the backing sponsorship. Well, it's not just that, but the amount of effort she puts in to get to a drive is amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm quite happy to acknowledge that for other people as well. If you go on about her just being a girl and she's at the back of the grid or whatever else, I quite happily say she deserves to be in this position because she's made the effort to get into it. And all credit to her. She's brilliant in my opinion, but it's just my opinion.
I want to add as well that I don't, engage with all of you lot because I've acknowledged that I need to. You lot are genuinely good fun, and it's a pleasure to interact with you guys. And as you say, or maybe it's not healthy how much time I spend on social media in these current climates. If the way that you get through day to day is to interact with all your mates on social media, then absolutely do it. And it's how we're all getting through, because sometimes you go on the Jeff Army page or other pages and the humor, the memes, the interaction, it does put a smile on your face. So it's the feelings like, it's likewise ditto with you guys. I scroll through, I might not interact every single time, but I see it and we all laugh and we laugh along with you. So, carry on doing what you guys are doing as well.
And I love a lot of Rob's social media content, but I'm also really loving muting his microphone tonight. Mary Whitaker.
I want to know if Paul O'Neill has ever won a race. Listen to me.
Mary! Hello, Jade.
How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Yeah,
Good. It's been a while.
it has, hasn't it? Yes, yes. I was just wondering, the last time I raced at Snetterton, it was November, it was cold. It was the first time I'd raced when the circuit had been changed to as it is now. What do you feel? Do you still feel the same about Snetterton? I do remember one of your comments about it.
I hate Snetterton. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate the last corner. I just don't get on with the circuit. That's why, look at OE. It's, look, hairpin. Oh, hairpin. Oh,
Exactly.
hairpin.
Yeah, it does. To me, it doesn't flow.
No.
The old circuit is brilliant.
I'm a bit stupid, so I'm good at Thruxton because all you got to do is keep it flat and just turn. And for me, Snetterton is probably more of a technical circuit. So, I mean, I joke that I hate it. It's good for the calendar. It's a good circuit to go to, and it creates great racing because it keeps us all close. But it's definitely not my favourite. And I remember it before it was changed, and that final corner was much better. It was like a bit of a chicane, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
Towards the end. And now it just feels like you're going right forever. And then all of a sudden you've got to brake down gears and turn left, and it just, like you say, it doesn't flow. So it's not my favourite circuit on the calendar, but I do think it's good for the championship because it creates good racing.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Thanks, Jade.
No worries.
Okay, I think, seeing as though Dave has gone and Rob is obviously desperately wanting to go and bug another driver.
Are they watching it on their phones?
Yeah, he's got it on now.
Attention's
Look
on
at them all. Look at them. Emily as well.
I'm still here.
AIDS time.
Yeah.
I didn't set it up. I'm not bothered. They do what they want.
Right, finally from me tonight. We always feature a mental health resource. Last week it was Mind Charity. The actual website has some fantastic places. And every week I have a search of the web to see what might be appropriate or useful for people. Rethink Mental Illness is another UK charity. The website has, again, an interactive space for people if you're struggling a bit or you just need to share and swap a few thoughts and ideas. But they've also got a really good search engine there to find local groups and resources. So, groups aren't for everyone. I wouldn't go to a group unless it's a virtual one on Zoom. Because, like you, Jade, I hate people. I don't want to listen to anyone else's problem. But for some, support groups are fantastic, especially during this time when people are lonely and stuck in the house. And I think maybe we're all struggling a little bit more than we would normally because life still feels a bit odd. But there's hope now. I think there's over 20 million now have had the first vaccinations. And my mum, who's on my top right corner of my screen, had her second vaccination today. So there's a bit of positivity to finish my part. I'd just like to say thanks to Jade, but thanks to everyone else who's taken part tonight. It's been really good fun. And the last word might be for OE, but it'll probably be Jade, or they'll have a competition. Over to you.
No, I won't keep long, but again, just want to echo what Tony said. Very difficult for everybody, but for me personally, this is amazing. Like I said before, seeing everyone's smiley faces, it's a place where we can all get together, have a bit of a giggle, especially Rob. Look at that smiley face. But some, people who've been for the last 2 episodes, but it's nice to see Katie here as well, and people switching the cameras on. It's been, it's really cool. I know Donna's been to the last 3 shows as well. And Shaz as well. So thanks for everybody coming along. Harry, good to see you. It's just good to see everybody, and I fully appreciate it. And the most respect and the appreciation for me is for Jade. So thank you for coming along, dude.
No worries. I'm just going to say that this whole positive chat thing, the freedom to chit chat amongst us is doing the world of good. I think it's a nice, light-hearted environment for us to all join together and just, you know, for those guys that are maybe in lockdown by themselves or don't have many friends and family around, this is exactly what we need. And if you've enjoyed it tonight, tune in next week. There'll be someone else and it'll just help you along the way. Like I said, when I watch Charlie Fag on Twitch, it cheers me up and it just helps me along the way. So use this tool. We're all in the same boat. If you're feeling a bit down, reach out to someone. There's always someone on the listen. Yeah, we all do it. Me and Oe sometimes vent to each other and help each other through stuff. So don't be scared to admit you're struggling, because we all are to a point. Keep smiling, keep fighting, and I'll see you at a British Touring Car round this season at some point. But don't annoy me too much, because I'll tell you to.
Perfect. Right. Peace out, everybody. Love you all. Amazing stuff. Let's get on the Jeff Army and give Parfit Jr. some grief. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.